Welcome back to Bitcoin.com's The Weekly. I'm Graham Stone, joined by David Sencil, the Bitcoin.com news gigabrain. Let's get into the weekly recap of the biggest stories in the Bitcoin and crypto verse. Let's kick it off, David, with gold.
Yes, we're talking about gold. I would say crypto's close cousin. People who like Bitcoin and crypto tend to like gold for obvious reasons. Gold has had an amazing year thus far. However, it hit a speed bump last week. Starting Friday, October 17th, gold began to show weakness. It dropped about 4.4% on the day, and then kind of rebounded a little bit. On Monday, it recovered all of Friday's losses and ended the day higher than it started on Friday. But on Tuesday, October 21st, gold fell as much as 6.5% on the day. It recovered slightly from that, but it ended very negatively. And then Wednesday, it wicked 3.3% lower, testing that $4,000 level. It recovered most of that loss. On the chart, it kind of looks like the Darth Maul candle, the dreaded red bar Darth Maul candle that we're all familiar with. But it still ended the day negative. Then throughout last week and as of right now, gold has continued to trend lower, and it is in negative territory as we speak. Between October 21st and the 22nd, it erased roughly $2.43 trillion in market value, which is its sharpest two-day drop since 2013. $2.43 trillion is most of the crypto market cap. So quite a lot of action there in gold.
Yeah, gold casually shedding the entire market cap of Bitcoin in a couple of days.
Achoo!
But Goldman Sachs says it ain't over. The boys over at Goldman, in a recent note, they said that gold can rise by 110% by 2028, so another 2 years. And the thesis is basically that there will be growth in the utilization of gold as an equity hedge, and that people will basically substitute bonds with a long date in favor of buying gold. And if gold substitutes 2% of an estimate of 20% of those bonds in the hands of investors, gold prices would more than double, according to the JP Morgan note.
Very, very interesting. I personally think, just as a very, very brief aside, I think the bonds are a terrible investment thing. It's starting to get a little overheated, and again, I wouldn't be surprised to see some correction in that, but that's kind of a hot take. Obviously, everyone in crypto hates bonds. But what's another thing that could drive gold and Bitcoin's price is something that we've talked about a lot, which is profligate spending of governments. Yes, Stimmies. Exactly. We've talked about this a lot. Everyone thinks that come May of next year, Trump is going to put in his Federal Reserve hand puppet, and we're going to start to see massive money printing go burr. Well, we got a kind of preview of that last week. Japan unveiled a new relief package, or stimulus package, if you will, under their new prime minister, the lovely lady Sanae Takaichi.
That's right, Sanae Takaichi.
Yeah, there we go. Now, this package aims to curb inflation by supporting households and businesses, curbing inflation with money. Interesting. The package is expected to exceed 13 trillion yen, roughly $90 billion, and is being framed as a, quote, responsible, proactive fiscal policy. It has three main pillars. It's going to relieve inflationary pressure on households, especially the rising living costs, right? We're talking about fuel and energy mostly. 2, invest in growth industries, AI, semiconductors, and 3, strengthen national security and economic security. So basically, they're going to be printing money for these 3 things. Now, as you might suspect, the first one seems to be kind of in exact opposition of what you would do if you're trying to combat inflation, right? Like, you have inflation, as in rising food costs, rising energy costs. So you're going to print money to give to people to pay for higher food costs and energy
Yeah,
costs.
so they're not combating inflation. They're planning to provide relief to people affected by inflation. Um,
Until that causes more inflation.
yeah,
Now the next two,
temporary relief.
okay, there you go, temporarily. But the next two do make sense, right? The invest in growth industries and strengthen national security, basically, more defense spending. Those things make perfect sense. So I guess you could say that the first one is kind of a political fig leaf for the population, and the next two are, I would say, actual policies that make sense and that Japan should be doing. In any case, that's this idiot's opinion. Arthur Hayes, the co-founder of crypto exchange BitMEX and chief investment officer for Maelstrom, he has sharply criticized this fiscal policy, warning that the country's latest stimulus risks further weakening the yen. But of course, it's going to weaken the yen. They're kind of in an impossible situation. But again, that's my opinion. Hayes wrote on social media last week when this thing was announced, quote, translation, let's print money to hand out to folks to help with food and energy costs. These costs rose because we printed so much money before. This is insanity, but whatever. Yen to 200 and Bitcoin to 1 million. Yahtzee. End quote.
Okay. Um, in Japan's defense, it's only $90 billion. What's that? A couple of hours of U.S. spending. So, but anyway,
Well,
it's a harbinger.
it
It's
depends.
directionally. Yeah.
Well, Graham, I would say it depends on if the government is shut down or not. But yeah, yes, yes.
Okay. All right. So, um, let's move on. So, I guess this is an interesting story. So, J.P. Morgan had previously allowed the acceptance of ETFs as collateral for their traders, people using the platform. Now they are there's a rumor. It hasn't been 100% confirmed yet, but J.P. Morgan is reportedly going to be enabling institutional clients to use Bitcoin and Ether as collateral for loans by year end. So I think this is pretty significant. Acknowledgement of Bitcoin and crypto as institutional grade collateral.
Bitcoin makes sense to me. Ether, that was a bit of a head scratcher there, and obviously, Graham, I know you have personal feelings about that. So
Yeah, when I see Bitcoin and Ether in these types of headlines, I just sort of, I don't know, like ignore the Ether part. I feel like people, I don't know, it doesn't really, yeah, agreed. It doesn't make that much sense. Ether is completely different from Bitcoin, in my humble opinion. While Bitcoin is a much bigger asset, sort of has the store of value use case. Ether is just a utility token for a smart contract platform.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, the interesting thing to this though is that to me it signals in some way that what's been announced or publicly given by all these major U.S. institutions for the past year or so, which is they really like Ethereum, right? They like the decentralization of it and blah 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 blah. In the past you could argue how much of this is just lip service, how much of this is just kind of like a trade of theirs. I see stories like this and it makes me think like maybe they actually are buying the Ethereum Kool-Aid, right? Like circa 2017. So anyway, that would be my biggest takeaway from this is like Do they are they invested in some way in the Ethereum ecosystem? Because that's what it makes me think of. But you know, let's stick
Yeah.
with Bitcoin. It's a lot clearer. Another Bitcoin topic would be the Bitcoin hash rate. For those who haven't been paying attention this year, in 2025 thus far, Bitcoin's hash rate has been up only. It started from about 801 exahashes per second on January 1st to about 1,100 as of today. So you've seen quite a big increase in the overall Bitcoin hash rate this year. Within that, you've seen who which countries are contributing to that hash rate modify a bit. So the U.S. now stands at 37.8% of the total hash rate is from America. America has ramped up from 288 hash rate to 389.
Exahashes.
Sorry, exahashes. Sorry.
So that's about a 30 or 40% increase from the start of the year.
Yeah, which is wild,
Which
right?
is massive.
Yeah. The second biggest contributor by nation is Russia with 15.5%.
So about half of the US's total.
Yeah. And it's gone from 125 to 160.
So increasing at a not as quickly a rate as the US.
Yes. And then third, which is a head scratcher, I would never have predicted, is China, right? Which is 14% of the global hash rate. Now they used to be at 110, and now they're at 145. Very strange for a country that has restrictions on Bitcoin mining, but it's still such a huge percentage and is still climbing. I don't know what to make of that. Who knows? You have a long tail of other countries like Paraguay, UAE, Oman, Canada, Kazakhstan, Ethiopia, Indonesia, and they're all around 1.9 to 3.9% each. The one thing that all of those countries have in common, of course, is lower commodity costs, i.e., the cost of electricity is lower. So that probably accounts for why they are represented at all. But again, the two main things here: U.S. increasing, probably accelerating. If I were to guess, I would say 2026 you'd see a bigger acceleration than 2025, even as a lot of the infrastructure comes online that's been invested this year. And then, like, what the heck is happening with China? Again, my guess would be Chinese wealthy Chinese industrialists, wealthy Chinese people trying to get their capital out of the yuan, out of their closed system. And Bitcoin mining is actually one of the more elegant ways to do this, right? You buy a bunch of mining equipment, you mine Bitcoin, you get to get your money out of the country. Anyway, so Bitcoin mining.
Yeah. Let's move on to another interesting story here, which is about mergers and acquisitions. So, for the first time ever, mergers and acquisitions in the crypto space have crossed the $10 billion mark. And if you just look at this chart, it's quite stark. From 2021 all the way through to mid to Q1 2025, it never exceeded $1 or $2 billion per quarter. And we've seen that ramp up in 2025 with Q2 doing about 5 billion and Q3 pulling in about 10 billion in mergers and acquisitions. So the crypto space really maturing here. I think that's the real takeaway. It's quite a big shift.
Yeah, and somewhat related, we have Polymarket, a prediction market that has, I would say, pretty much officially crossed over to mainstream with the ICE investment, the owners of the New York Stock Exchange investing in it. There was a story that from CMO Matthew, I don't know how to say his last name,
Modaber.
Modaber. He said, "quote There will be a token, there will be an airdrop," and he was speaking on a podcast. So there you have it, folks. Polymarket officially saying that they're going to have a token. Not only will they have a token, they're going to have an airdrop. I wonder how this is going to do. Very, very interesting to announce this right after their $2 billion investment at the $8 to $10 billion valuation. Additionally, Bloomberg has reported that Polymarket is in the early stage talks of another funding round. This is going to be valued between 12 billion and 15 billion. The CMO Matthew Modaber explained that the goal is to create a token with genuine utility and staying power, quote, to be around forever. That's what we'd expect from ourselves, and that's what I think everyone in this space expects from us, end quote. I'm very interested to see how this plays out. Graham, as you and I have reported on and seen countless times, airdrops, token launches and airdrops tend to go one way, down. It's very rare. It's very, very rare for it to do otherwise.
Yeah. Well, I think if there is a candidate for a company that could actually do it where it goes up, I think Polymarket might be the one, and that is simply because this platform, this meta of prediction markets, this investment from ICE, it's all pointing to this really being a big shift in the way people bet. You're seeing reportedly you're seeing people move away from sports betting platforms now actually to prediction market based sports betting, and part of that is apparently driven by a tax change that has been announced in the US basically for sports betting. You used to be able to write off 100% of your losses as a tax write-off, but that is being changed to 90%. So that means that, for like pro gamblers, pro sports betting gamblers out there, that kind of takes away their edge. And I mean, probably that loophole would be filled in the prediction markets space as well. But the point is, prediction markets are, they're gaining huge traction here. Polymarket also announced, I believe, a partnership with the NHL to be like their official platform for sports betting there.
So did Kalshi, though. Did you see that faux pas? It was pretty hilarious.
I did not see that.
Yeah,
okay. So not
pretty
exclusive.
Funny. Yeah. They both announced exclusive contracts with the NHL at the same time.
Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
The problem with this is, dude, and this is the thing that you've seen over and over again, is you have equity investors.
Yeah, very different from equity. Is very different from the token.
Well, so that's the problem.
The devil's in the details.
The incentives are misaligned, right? Because you have equity investors, and then you have token holders, right? And because basically the token holder has no right, no right on the actual business. The company is, of course, incentivized to prioritize the equity investors. And this causes the token to be kind of this amorphous, languishing thing. This is not to say it can't be done correctly, but why would the equity investors allow loss of control to be given to token holders? That's usually a hard ask. And Pump.Fun has been struggling with this. This is on the timeline over the weekend, actually, because they also have people who hold the equity, and then they have this token. And even Uniswap back in the day had this problem. So, and they still haven't solved that. So I'm very curious to see how this works out. Pessimistic though, because unless there's like very clear kind of smart contract enabled or legal like rights rights given to the token holders, as in like they get revenue or something like that. I think this would just be sell the news event, but never no financial advice.
All right, let's move on to a Bitcoin and crypto adoption story, which is from this one's from Rumble. So basically, Rumble is announcing that they're planning to enable tips that on the platform. Rumble, of course, the YouTube competitor that's positioned itself as the go-to platform for people who don't want to be censored. Basically, they're like saying, okay, we YouTube censors people, we don't. And anyway, they have Tether has previously made a big investment in Rumble, and at the Plan B forum in Lugano, Switzerland, Tether CEO Paolo Arduino and Rumble CEO Chris Pavlovski dropped the news here that they're planning to enable these tips. Tips will be available in Bitcoin, USDT, and gold. And Rumble has 51 million users. Here's an interesting quote from Paolo Arduino at the conference. He said, "Imagine a platform like YouTube supporting this. They never would." And yeah, it's as far as I'm concerned, go Rumble.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I I do wonder if that's actually true, though. Right? Would YouTube not do this? I could imagine them being forced to if they actually have to compete. But for the time being, yeah, no need for them to do that. And yeah, absolutely, go Rumble. All right, last story of the day. CZ was pardoned, right? So President Trump granted a full pardon to Binance founder CZ. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. Sorry. The Wall Street reported this. Wall Street Journal reported this on Thursday, and they said that this move follows months of CZ's efforts to bolster the Trump family's own crypto enterprises. So there you have the Wall Street Journal kind of showing its hand in terms of what they think about this story. Now, the reaction to this pardon has been mixed. Many have hailed it as justice, and others have said it's more about political favoritism, corruption, kind of sets a bad precedent. So mixed bag. CZ, he responded to the pardon and to critics. He expressed gratitude to Trump. He framed the pardon as a win for fairness, innovation, and crypto's role in America's kind of crypto leadership, basically. Many, of course, in the crypto industry supported this. Balaji, Charles Hoskinson praised this pardon. Udi as well. He said it was great. They called CZ's prosecution unfair and politically motivated. Hoskinson accused the U.S. Department of Justice of weaponizing some of these laws or whatever against
Yeah,
the crypto industry.
just as a point of fact here. So CZ, I've been told, was the only person to ever have been jailed for a single count of violating the Bank Secrecy Act. This act has been violated in many ways by TradFi institutions, and no one has ever gone to jail for it. But lo and behold, when a crypto founder is found to have violated it, they do end up in jail. So I think that's sort of the hypocrisy that people are pointing out here, and why people are saying that it was politically motivated.
Yeah. There's also this other element where apparently the previous administration, I think, wanted to go after other charges. There just wasn't enough, what's it called, evidence or anything like that. And so you're seeing this actually from the critics, is that they're kind of, well, they're just flat out making mistakes and or lying, right? Senator Elizabeth Warren, She denounced this pardon, alleging corruption and money laundering, which he was never accused of, claiming CZ had gotten this pardon because of financing Trump's stablecoin, the World Liberty Financial. I think Binance invested something like $2 billion in USD1 apparently recently. Maxine Waters, another U.S. She's a U.S. representative, so a Congress lady, alleged that CZ's pardon followed extensive lobbying from Binance, and that this pardon undermines and shows crypto's rising power, and it's not a good thing. Obviously, these
I have a
people are on.
question,
Go ahead.
David. He already went to jail. He served 4 months, paid a massive fine. What's what does the pardon mean? Does that mean he gets his 4 months of his life back and a refund on the fine, or like what's going on?
I think.
It's
I
just
think.
his name is cleared, therefore he can be. There's a path to doing business in the U.S. I think that's what it is, right?
Yeah, and I think isn't if you're pardoned, isn't it removed from your record, like your
Yeah.
official, like you've no longer committed a crime. You're no longer a what's it called?
Yeah.
It's
So
it's
he can fly to the U.S. and go gamble at Vegas or whatever.
yeah. If he wants to, I don't know, get citizenship in a third world country called America, maybe it'll be a lot easier now. So CZ actually responded to Warren's claim. Uh, Warren posted this on social media, and CZ basically said that the Biden era DOJ had a political bias against crypto. Everybody knows that. um, and so this was it was obviously a politically motivated thing. And I guess the predictable but sad thing is that this fell along kind of party lines. You know, people people within crypto saw this as an unmitigated good. People against crypto, i.e., Democrats and the left in America, saw this as just yet another example of Trump corruption and the 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 almost the inherent negative of crypto as an industry.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, the
yeah,
partisanship shall continue until I don't know, the fifth turning or something. It's the fourth or the fifth.
we're at the fourth turning now, which means you go back to the first cycle or whatever. Um, I think no matter, it'll make people on the left feel worse about crypto, but I think the net of it is positive because this plus the recent thing with Roger Ver, plus the other stuff before that. It really, really, really shows to businesses, and this is who I think ultimately will matter, that the U.S. is a place that you can come to and invest in crypto infrastructure, put down roots in the U.S., and you're not going to be persecuted, I would say.
Unreasonably prosecuted.
Yeah, and here's what happens is, like any system, once you get entrenched, right? So once crypto has businesses and is hiring people and is creating a lot of growth and economic activity in the U.S., even if the Democrats get in power, hopefully by that time it'll become because there's business and economic activity, it'll have become normalized enough where it would be politically inviable to then go after people like they have done with these others. And so net, I think this is a positive, even if it just exacerbates how the left feels.
Yeah. All right. That wraps it up for the weekly recap. Thank you, David, for your insights as usual, and thanks everyone for listening.
Hold
Have a
on.
great
Let me
week.
just
You got
let's
something?
just
You got something to plug?
no. I just want to I want to go after a couple of the comments. Here we
Okay.
go.
Okay, we got comments. Let's do
Yeah. First of all, there's somebody who just had a melee thing, which doesn't make sense to me. He said, "Come down again." Maybe this is about gold, and I don't know how you feel, Graham, but I would just say about gold, the fact that it's come off and is now trending down. This was needed, right? This is what you want. If you're a long time, if you're medium to I would say short term to medium term bullish gold, it was getting overheated, and so
Yeah.
you want this pullback.
Unsustainable,
You want this pullback.
unsustainable
This
parabolic
yeah
pullback. Yeah.
yeah. So that's a good thing. Good. Another commenter said, "What's the next crypto market? Now's the time to buy more crypto." I would say you need to qualify that time to buy crypto. I think maybe you could say it might be time to buy Bitcoin. I wouldn't say it's time to buy crypto as a whole thing. That doesn't make sense to me at all. Chad 007. Didn't Chad say something last week? I feel like, is this the same Chad? Maybe. Anyway, Chad had a thing on gambling. He said poker stars gamblers are moving to prediction markets. This obviously makes sense, right? Um, they you could imagine if Polymarket or Kalshi really have their act together, they'll do something similar to what Pump.Fun has done, or what Pump.Fun is doing, which is trying to take away big accounts from Twitch and other services by giving them a larger slice of the pie, right? Through incentives through the platform. And so yeah, I think these gambler live stream gambler thingy people, you want them on your platform, you want them using your stuff, and so Polymarket could absolutely, and Kalshi for that matter, could help them move away at a quicker rate with this airdrop too. And anything else? To beat the corrupt, you got to be the corrupt, I guess. Yeah, that's dark. What do you think?
Yeah. Dark. We got one comment in Melee. It says, "Turun lagi nih." Sorry. I used to live in Indonesia.
Nice.
It's that, which means come down again. I think they're talking about the price. So I had a look at the price, and it doesn't seem to be coming down again. So I don't know. This person's just panicking.
Yeah. All right. One comment from YouTube. Come on, YouTubers, get out, make comments. We've only got one of you. Prediction markets will proliferate when companies start creating their own internal stable coins. Yeah, no, I don't. I actually disagree with that. I think you're already seeing prediction. Well, proliferate. I personally think that create their own internal stable coins.
I don't see the connection between those two things.
I mean,
But
yeah. So for example, I could imagine like so one story that got cut from this week was on the three major Japanese banks are coming together to create a yen-backed stablecoin. They're making a consortium. I think it'd be harder for Japanese, like there's more friction for Japanese people to maybe potentially, maybe not, but potentially get into a dollar-backed stablecoin market, or maybe not, maybe not. Maybe once you're just on chain, it doesn't matter. I'll say this though, if a prediction market is able to cut a deal, like if Polymarket was able to cut a deal with USDC and say, hey, and this will probably happen, right? Like because it's USDC only, I think, in Polymarket, and they're like, if they said to you to Circle, they're like, you have to give us some of the yield, or we're gonna switch to USDT, or whatever, right? The hyperliquid style, right? Like you gotta give us half the yield you make, and then we're gonna give that to token holders, which would be that'd be an awesome case. That could absolutely drive traffic to Polymarket.
yeah, maybe that's what that'll be one of the elements of the utility of the Polymarket token, which is that it the yield earned by the stable coins that are in the platform as
Yeah.
liquidity goes to the token holders. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Then you would expect maybe an RFP, a request for proposals,
Yes.
hyperliquid style, where
Yeah.
Polymarket's like, what is the stable coin going to be that you guys want to use here on our platform?
Yeah. And Solana, listened to a podcast this past week, and Mert, who proposed this to about Solana, he kind of walked it back and was like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's probably not going to happen on Solana because it's so fractured.
yeah.
I still think it's going to happen, by the way, but for
Single
apps,
applications.
yeah,
Yeah,
like Hyperliquid and like Polymarket, absolutely, they're going to do this, and that would make a lot of sense for them to do that because they have all the power and they can switch to a different stablecoin like that.
yeah, exactly. And the UX can just say USD. It doesn't really matter what the stablecoin actually is behind the platform. And Polymarket's pretty good at abstracting away the cryptoness of everything.
Yeah, man, I haven't
Okay,
heard that. I haven't heard anyone make that take, but I think we're right. You
there you
heard it
go.
here
You heard it
first. The
here.
weekly.
Okay, now I'm gonna actually wrap it up. We're done. David, thank you again as usual. Have a great week, everyone. See you on Friday for Token Narrative.